Good morning, beautiful people. We have two humans walking on our roof for doing something we do not know about. Our Wi-Fi just dropped out about a minute and a half ago, but we are live on this Thursday, April 30th, one day after Brett Favre goes on Rich Eisen's show. Shout out to Rich Eisen, the bald homie. Brett Favre allegedly had talked to Aaron Rodgers. He goes on the show, and basically Brett Favre starts speaking from his heart, and everybody's assuming, well, this is exactly how Aaron Rodgers feels. We're not 100% of that, but boy, if it is, Aaron Rodgers is leaving town in Green Bay. That's what Brett Favre is thinking. And Brett Favre made a couple comments about how, you know, when I retired back in the day, it was kind of abnormal. Remember, when Brett Favre retired and then came back and retired and came back, it was in commercials. Mm-hmm. It was a big deal. Now, when somebody does it, it's celebrated. He was mocked. It was celebrated. Brett Favre got to clear the air with that. Also take a trip down memory lane whenever Aaron came in there. And overall, the entire conversation was basically about Brett Favre saying, if I was Aaron Rodgers, I'd be completely okay going elsewhere, just because of the lack of respect, basically, from the Green Bay Packers organization. That was a great conversation. We'll talk about that. We have Mark Madden from Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania, tested IQ of 166, joining us in 28 minutes. We'll be talking about the Pittsburgh Steelers negotiating a deal with Jameis Winston before he goes down to the Saints. Is that factual? Is that a real thing that happened, or is that a bunch of BS? We'll talk to him about sports and the future of it. We'll talk to him about Andy Dalton being on the open market because as of this morning, the Cincinnati Bengals have officially released him. A lot of people hate him in Pittsburgh, but the guy has had the #1 show in the city for about 20 years now at this point. Can't wait to chat with him. Can't wait for the tweets coming at me for yelling at me for allowing him on my platform. He's electric. And in the second hour, Charles Robinson will join us from Yahoo, which, to be honest, Charles Robinson, good guy. I've had good conversations with him. Can't believe Yahoo Sports is still in existence. We'll talk to him about that and a lot of other stuff. Evan Foxy, please play our brand new song. It's the Pat McAfee Show. And we're talking in microphones. fun. We're talking sports and more. Now it's time to know. It's the Pat McAfee Show.
It's a show.
It's on the air.
Showtime.
Thank you so much, whoever put that in. That was a great send-in.
Good for them.
Really got to capture the vibe of the show, and we appreciate that. Joining me at Nick Moraldo, you look great, bud. Tone Diggs wearing an incredible salmon-colored hoodie there. Ty Schmitz in camouflage trying to be hidden from his Green Bay Packers fanhood. Jason McAfee's back there. Zito's looking fantastic. Evan Foxy also with the salmon. Missed the note, boys. And on the phones, 1-833-622-3331, Boston Connor. Is that just Connor Campbell there?
Yeah, just a quick little, jump in. Pubs versus everybody on here. Just want to get that in there, too.
I'll tell you what, people are not going to be. I bet you there's people booing at home right now. You know how Roger Goodell said he wanted people to boo him from home? I think some people, dumb people that listen to the show, one of their favorite parts of the show is whenever you debut whatever costume and gimmick you're going to run with. And now today, you're Connor Campbell. And you would say, I'd assume, is Connor Campbell not enough?
Well, look, people boo me every single day of my life. So this is no difference. But also, this is Keto Connor. I am now on the keto diet. So this isn't just Connor Campbell. This is Keto Connor.
When did that all happen? Is this a brand new Connor Campbell?
This started on Monday, and you could say it's a brand new Connor Campbell. You could say that.
Has he stuck with it for real?
Yeah, he actually has.
So far, yeah. I haven't had a chip since Friday.
He's going to crash hard the way he's doing it.
It's all he's talking about.
All he's doing is he's having Nick's quarantine burgers during the day,
which is
fine.
Apocalyptic.
Perfect.
But at night he just bought Jenny Craig keto bars. So
They're
he's
not
just
Jenny Craig. They're not Jenny Craig, Tony. Do not throw that slander back here.
Whoa. You're too young to know that Jenny Craig used to be
dominate.
I know
the
Jenny.
bitch out there, man. Jenny Craig was saving lives all over the place.
Hey, Miss Craig.
That's not.
I remember her.
Nailed it.
Who's Jenny Craig?
Foxy, why would you say that?
She was the original lose weight woman. Like had meals and stuff like that, and
Have you heard of Pilates?
a point system.
She was saving people's lives for a long, long time. Jenny Craig was 1-800-JENNY, I believe, was the number you would actually call
I
it.
called it all the time.
No, you didn't, because you just said that you don't want that slander that you're on Jenny Craig.
Well, because I'm not on Jenny Craig, I am on keto.
No, but what kind of bars are they?
Atkins bars. They're not Jenny Craig bars.
Anyways, over your right shoulder there, you're trying to get a bonus? Is that what that?
No, I'm not trying to get a bonus, but the people have to know the PMI Zoo is available now. And, there's a lot to be done up here. If anybody wants to write their own message, what are the ads? $80, so we'll make it $100 to get your own message up.
What is that? Is that your Cash App or Venmo?
This is my cameo. This is my cameo right here.
Dumbest show of all time. Andy Dalton was released by the Cincinnati Bengals this morning. We said it would be 2 to 3 days after the draft. It was 4 days after the draft. So that's on us for being off a day. They're saving $17 million not having to pay Andy Dalton. And obviously they drafted Joe Burrow. The thought was, will you keep Andy Dalton around to maybe be that guide, that mentor? But at his contract salary, that was not the right move for the Bengals. And we all kind of saw it coming. I would assume Andy Dalton knew this was coming. Now, there was some chatter about potentially the Dolphins trying to get to 1 or another team trying to get up to 1. So maybe Andy Dalton thought, hey, if they trade up to 1, I'll still be a Bengal. As soon as they drafted Joe Burrow, he knew he was probably on his way out. We talked to a lot of people over the last couple of weeks about a good home for Andy Dalton. A lot of people say, hey, take Andy Dalton, bring him up to Foxborough. Now all of a sudden, Andy Dalton is a quarterback that can win games because he's got Bill Belichick behind him. And I think that is something that a lot of Patriots fans maybe hope for because they know nothing about Jared Stidham. They call him Studham, but they know absolutely nothing about the guy. Who knows if he's going to be a good quarterback or not? I guess you will find out. But we all think, and we talked to Michael Lombardi, who knows this world pretty much inside and out, we all think the better place for him to go to would be the Jacksonville Jaguars because Jay Gruden is the offensive coordinator down there. Jay Gruden and Andy Dalton had a lot of success at the Cincinnati Bengals together, and the Jacksonville Jaguars have been oddly quiet in the quarterback world. They trade Nick Foles out. Big Richard Nick Foles gets hurt last year throwing a touchdown. They trade him to the Chicago Bears, and the Chicago Bears say, well, he's not going to be our starter. He's just going to compete with Mitchell Trubisky. Mitchell Trubisky goes on Chase Daniels' Chosh Chats and buries the Chicago Bears. Who knows how that's going to – he didn't bury him, but there was a lot of things said that were like, oh, okay, that's Mitchell Trubisky – I don't think felt as taken care of as he probably wanted to feel with the Bears. I don't know. You listen to it, it's 55 minutes long. They're going to be battling against each other, but with the Jacksonville Jaguars, all they had was Gardner Minshew Mania. The man who was going to hop in an RV and drive across the country all offseason is their only quarterback really down there of note. So I think the Jacksonville Jaguars knew that Andy Dalton was probably going to get released. They knew that he was going to be on the table, and I would assume that Andy Dalton's going to be a Jacksonville Jaguar here within the next couple of days. That just feels like that's going to happen. Now, granted, I am the same person that said Cam Newton's going to the Los Angeles Chargers, and the Los Angeles Chargers GM told us 2 days ago that aside from Tom Brady, it was Tyrod Taylor's job, which we could have never guessed. We could have never guessed, because whenever you poke your nose out there and you sound like a free agent quarterback and maybe you poke your head into Tom Brady, we just assume maybe another veteran quarterback could go there. Tom Telesco, general manager of the Chargers, said, no, this is Tom Brady's an anomaly. Everybody else, nah, we don't want. But the Jacksonville Jaguars have been very, very quiet. So unless they're planning on just rolling with Gardner Minshew and Minshew Mania and the jorts and the mustache and the headbands and bandanas and the electric play, that'd be interesting. I feel like Andy's going to be a Jaguar before too long here.
Yeah, it would make sense going from one elite organization to another organization for Andy to go down to Jacksonville and succeed. And I also, as soon as this news break, tapped into my sources in Cincinnati, which I do have aplenty. They didn't cut him day 2 or 3 because today is actually his daughter's birthday and his wedding anniversary, so they waited today to do it.
Are you serious with
that? Well,
that?
they benched him on his birthday, so they had to wait today for another memorable day to ruin this wedding.
I don't know if you're being serious or not.
I am not serious.
I was hoping so bad that you pieced together that this was his daughter's birthday. So
his
bad.
Wedding anniversary.
Oh, my God. Man, we would have been sitting on something.
Yeah. Great build-up, Tony.
I mean, Diggs really sold that.
Yeah.
Diggs normally, if he starts to sell something, he maybe speeds up a little bit. That was a great sell right there. It wouldn't surprise me, by the way, because that's what the Bengals did last year. They benched him on his birthday only a couple minutes before the trade deadline was over, so he couldn't get out of town. He ended up playing for a bad football team. Obviously, they had the number 1 overall pick, so that's not great. But Andy Dalton, if you look at his numbers, if we've always been a pro Andy Dalton show. We've always said Ginger Tarzan, the Red Rocket, Andy Dalton is a much better quarterback than people give him credit for. And these numbers are here to prove it. Field Yates, old Fields Yates, who in high school had a cookie hour, right?
Oh, yeah, cookies and milk over there.
At what time? Like 10?
Over at Belmont Hill, about 10:10, 10:20.
Oh, right now? Every morning, right now, if those kids were in school, they would have cookies and milk.
Exactly, right now.
That is not slander. That is a true story.
That's fact.
So judge that for however you would like to. Andy Dalton finishes his Bengals. Field Yates, by the way, good guy. Would have never guessed that he was having cookies and milk every single day served to him by his high school at 10:10. Could you imagine 16-year-old me, you, or Nick Diggs and getting served at Plum High School getting served cookies and milk?
Shirt and tie and a blazer.
Our treat was like every 6 months. So like once a school year, we'd get brought into our classroom in those orange cartons. We'd get orange drink.
Oh,
I don't know
yeah.
if you remember that. It was like literally like once every 6 months. And I don't know the occasion, but it was a nice day.
Anyways, Field Yates used all those cookies and all that milk to get him into a position to be very successful and very good at what he does. We like Field Yates. Would have never guessed that he did the cookies and milk thing. He says Andy Dalton finishes his Bengal leader as the all-time leader in passing touchdowns, 204. Second in passing yards, 31,594. Most fourth quarter comebacks, 20. Game-winning drives, 24. 3 Pro Bowl nods, and helped dig them out of the dumps to 5 playoff appearances. Really solid run. Amen, Field Yates. Very solid run. I mean, you got a lot of legendary quarterback. Boomer Esiason played over there. Carson Palmer played over there. But all I remember is the Cincinnati Bengals team being able to rattle off wins when Andy Dalton was playing. They had like 9 wins, 10 wins, 11 wins, but they could just never get there. And I always thought it was because Marvin Lewis, Andy Dalton, and the boys were just, you guys just couldn't do it. Then I started learning about the Bengals organization at the time. They only had like 1 or 2 scouts. The coaches were tasked with not only coaching the team, but also scouting for the future drafts and things like that. They don't really go all in on the franchise winning. And whenever you're competing against other teams in the playoffs who have their own planes and do all this other stuff, it's going to be a little bit more difficult. You're playing against people who get cookies and milk every day at 10:10, and you're down there and you can't even afford a carton of milk. I mean, mean, that is what the Bengals were for a long time. From what I've been told, they've turned it around a bit. But Andy Dalton has an incredible run as a Cincinnati Bengal. He's throwing in his side yard, we think, because it's a tiny little yard. He's still ready. He's still got more football in him. And hopefully we'll be able to find out and learn where he's going relatively soon, because there ain't jack else to talk about.
If he does go to Jacksonville, what do you think they would pay him? Because he would be going down there to compete for the starting job with Minshew, right?
I see like a Mariota, probably like a Mariota contract. Minshew, though, is on his rookie contract. He was drafted late. So they would have to pay Minshew, too, because you bring an older quarterback in who's been a starter before, but you want Minshew to feel as if he's still the starter, or if he is the starter, or if you're planning on Andy Dalton being your starter. I mean, we don't know what they're planning on doing. Jay Gruden might have been down there and been like, hey, I know who I want to be my quarterback, and it's Andy Dalton. And they're going to cut him, so let's just wait it out. Let's not go get anybody else, because Cam Newton's still out there, right? They chose not to go get him. There's a lot of quarterbacks that they could. Jameis Winston was on the market there for a little bit. They could have won and got him. So I think they've been waiting for Andy Dalton to potentially come. We could be wrong. He could end up somewhere else. But you have to, I don't know how, that would be an interesting locker room. If your guy who started for you last year is getting paid, I don't know, $600,000, and then you bring in a guy who's potentially going to compete with them for $5, $6, $7, maybe $8 million. That's immediately an interesting relationship. But Gardner Minshew knows that he was drafted late and he was in an interesting situation. I don't know how they'll handle it.
Yeah, he's making $722 this year, $722 next year, and then $900,000 in 2022.
What was he, 4th or 5th round? 6th?
Yeah, I think he was 6th.
6th round?
Yeah.
And then he started his rookie year, basically? Yeah. Not normal. Russell Wilson did that, right? He got drafted
third, I think.
Third round, but it wasn't expected for him to start. Remember, they signed Matt Flynn.
Yeah.
They gave him a massive contract, and then old Russell Wilson came in and started doing clear eyes, 6th round. Minshew was a 6th round draft pick. It doesn't happen normal where that quarterback pops out of nowhere and becomes your starter. Minshew, that mania ran wild.
The Jags are going to need it, too, because if they're trading Fournette, they're going to have to go pass heavy. And I
guess there's no market for Leonard Fournette, is what was reported last night. I forget who tweeted it. Somebody tweeted it and said, basically, they talked about how Cam Newton was tried to be traded. There was no market. Andy Dalton was trying to be traded. There was no market. Leonard Fournette is currently trying to be traded. There is no market. Nick Foles went for a 4th or whatever. Gronk went for a 4th. I guess the trading for older players at this current time is not hot. It is not hot in the streets of the NFL, which is very interesting because Leonard Fournette, you would think after what he did last year, after taking that trip to Wyoming or whatever and burning a peace pipe, I'd assume, and resetting his entire life in deleting friends, not only off of Facebook and blocking people on Twitter and Instagram, but in real life as well, getting himself back focused, you would think that guy's probably going to be a pretty good football player again.
Yeah, maybe it's because I think he has 1 year left on his contract. So if you bring him in now, maybe he's a rental for a year, or do you want to pay because he's going to want top running back money, I assume, when he wants to get paid, and a lot of people just don't want to pay running backs at this.
It's interesting, isn't it? Because Zeke got paid after sitting out. Melvin Gordon did not, though. I mean, Le'Veon Bell got a lot less than what he was originally asking for, but he still got paid. It's an interesting position, that running back position. But if you can get going, you need a good running back. You need one. Right now, the Colts have 3. Colts have 3 very good running backs. I have no idea how they're going to do that. We have a friend from Philadelphia who's excited to watch the Philadelphia Eagles run a 2-quarterback set every single day in the quarterback factory. But I don't know how you use 3 running backs. I guess you just keep picking them up. Leonard Fournette, though, what if he loves Andy Dalton? He's like, all right, I'll stick around. I don't need to be traded anymore. The only reason why they thought about trading him, by the way, is because he tweeted that he liked Minshew, but like Cam Newton, if we can get him, let's do that. 2 days later, he's on the trading block. It's like, what if they talk to him like, how about Andy Dalton? You like Ginger Tarzan? How do you feel about that? Bang, here he comes. Whole new team down in Jacksonville. Let's not forget 3 years ago they were in the AFC Championship.
Oh, yeah. Their entire
blown up
defense
since.
is gone.
Now they're going to England. They go, 3 games over there? 2 games
It's going to be a weird locker room if they keep Fournette and Ngakoue.
Oh, yeah, I completely forgot about Ngakoue, who was literally taking personal shots at Tony Khan on Twitter. Jacksonville Jaguars are electric. I mean, they are electric. Duval. We got to get to a break for radio. We'll do some phone calls during the. Oh man, this thing. I found his SoundCloud, by the way. This song is actually called Pistol Hawk.
Oh yeah.
It is so good. The guy's name is Twine. It's very, very good. All right. Mark Madden joins us in 13 minutes. Buckle up for that conversation. The man was a commentator for WCW back during the Monday Night Wars. He was once on ESPN radio, got fired for something he said, got picked up by WXDX in Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania, which was a music station, and they just gave him 3 hours, 3 to 6, primetime radio, no music, just him talking. And he went up to like 11.4 or something at some point in Pittsburgh. And a lot of people hate him. I love him. Can't wait to chat with him. We'll talk to you during the break. This is the Pat McAfee Show. But Pat McAfee Show. Microphones. The more you know. Microphone. There's somewhere in there. Could probably do something with it. Jay turned off the song and the microphones. Jay was
There's plenty in there.
There's a lot in there.
Yeah.
We could turn that thing into something.
Sure.
We're on fucking YouTube.
Two.
Let's go to, you want to go to Orlando? Newfoundland, Canada.
Yep.
Sorry, Orlando. Mitch, what's going on up there in Newfoundland?
What's up, boys? How are everything's going down there?
Hey, not too shabby. I got a friend that lives in,
Saskatoon.
he's a big fan of playing puck on the pond. Ain't that right?
Yeah, I mean, Saskatoon's the greatest country in the world and definitely the greatest city in Canada. Yeah. Said country, it might
in the
be
world,
country.
too.
Mitch, what's going on, pup?
Not much, man. So I got 2 questions for you, if you don't mind.
Go on.
So I want to get your guys' thoughts on how different the Super Bowl is going to look at the end of the game in terms of, like, the mass of humanity that rushes on the field, like reporters, camera operators, that sort of thing. Like, is that going to happen? And is it going to be a relief for the players that probably won't happen?
Mitch.
And my second question is, when are we going to see you
Mitch.
challenge for the WWE 24/7 championship?
Okay, not a bad question there. Whenever I'm allowed to, whenever they let me do anything other than sit on a pre-show panel, I will do that. But your first question, Mitch, I'm going to be honest, very, very niche question that I don't think a lot of people would have ever thought of. Do you do a lot of drugs up there?
No, I'm a video producer for a small community TV station here in Newfoundland.
Oh, that's awesome, Mitch. Appreciate you, buddy.
What's a care upper? Is that a trainer?
He said care upper.
I didn't hear that.
That was the second thing he said. I thought.
The second question, he was talking about WWE 24/7.
No, in the first
Oh, the
question,
second example.
when he said with like people going on the field and care uppers.
See, that's my problem. As soon as I get turned off something, I go ahead and flip the switch, wait for him to stop talking so I can tell him, hey, what are we doing here? That's a wild question. At the end of the Super Bowl is what we're asking. At the end of the Super Bowl, when the media mobs the field, what is the difference with how are players going to react to that?
Who knows?
Mitch, come the fuck on, pal. Mitch, come on. By the way, if there's 100,000 people in a stadium or whatever, 60,000, 70,000, I would assume at that point
Yeah, things are good.
things are good. So I would, you know what? After this quarantine, I think a lot of players are going to want to hug a lot of people. They're going to say, come on in for the real thing. Spit in my mouth. Let me get coronavirus, maybe mono. Let's keep it moving.
The chat's telling me he said camera operators, and I heard it as care uppers.
Diggs, this is now 2 things you've done today that I thought would have been awesome if they were accurate, and they just weren't, but it's not a bad day. Mitch, what a wild question. Wild question. I mean, that's kind of stumped me, actually.
It's in the water up there in Newfoundland.
Not the same thing they got in Saskatoon.
No.
Damn straight, Saskatoon's the best.
Radio's back in 4 seconds. What the fuck was that?
If you're listening to this show right now, I want you to take a second and look down.
Mitch from Newfoundland needs to know that we are a big fan of his.
Huge.
Huge fan of Mitch from Newfoundland. Love what he does with his local television station.
Great at his job.
Great at his job. He's a care-upper. He's a camera operator. He does a lot of good things. But that question was a very interesting question to ask. Bad question. Those are going to happen.
What are you going to do?
What are you going to do?
What are you gonna do?
What are you going to do?
Well, when was the last time you shaved your junk?
That's probably what's going on with Mitch. He's up there in Newfoundland worrying about his shrubs taking over the pine.
It's been a while. Don't lie, Mitch. Let's take a second to thank our sponsor, Manscaped, for holding you accountable to get rid of the funk and shave your junk. Manscaped is the only men's brand dedicated to below-the-waist grooming and hygiene, and is forever changing the grooming game with their Perfect Package 3.0 Essentials Kit. The perfect tools for your family jewels.
Yeah.
The Perfect Package 3.0 kit comes with the new and improved Lawnmower 3.0, which is a waterproof, cordless body trimmer, and a ton of other liquid formulations to round out your manscaping routine. And of course, let's not forget about the Crop Preserver, an anti-chafing ball deodorant and moisturizer. You already put deodorant on your armpits, right? So why are you not putting deodorant on the smelliest part of your body?
True. Oh, that makes sense.
Makes a lot of sense.
Yeah, because down there you got a lot of things cooking.
A lot of gunk.
Oh, so much. All the gunk. Oh, and there's butter down there. Oh, they rapped about it in that song.
When you purchase the new Perfect Package 3.0 kit at manscaped.com, you get the biggest bang for your buck.
Oh, I like that.
Subscribers get a new replacement blade refill for your lawnmower trimmer delivered to your door every 3 months, making sure your trimmer always stays fresh and clean.
Oh, okay.
And for a limited time, subscribers get not 1 but 2 free gifts.
No.
Yeah, 2
Wow,
of them.
that's crazy.
Pretty good.
The Shed Travel Bag and the patented high-performance anti-chafing Manscaped Boxers. Get 20% off and free shipping with the code America at manscaped.com. That's 20% off with free shipping at manscaped.com and use code America. Your partner, your body, and your balls will thank you.
Atta boy. Shout out to them. You know, you go look truffle butter on your nutters. Put deodorant and smother. The smell at. This is dumb. We are 5 minutes away from our first guest from Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania. It would be an electric factory. Gronk said he had the Bucs playbook 4 weeks before he joined the Bucs, and he wasn't even on the team. Then he doubled down on that and said, wowzers, I am just joking. I did not mean that. He was co-hosting some sort of show. I'm not exactly sure what it was. During that, what was it?
It was like a post-draft party.
Okay, so he was on a post-draft party hosting it. Something came up about him being with the Buccaneers. I would assume he was asked how long would it take for him to learn the Bucs offense. We should have done more research into this, but I didn't think it was that big of a deal, and I assume he didn't think it was that big of a deal either because he said, oh, no, I had the playbook 4 weeks before I even signed there, and I wasn't even on the team or whatever. Now he's obviously had to come out and say that he was joking around. Let me tell you why. Tom Brady walks into Byron Leftwich's neighbor's house, trespasses right into the guy's house, puts his bags down. Turns out it's not Byron Leftwich's house. Says, oh my God, I'm so sorry. Turns around, walks out, goes into Byron Leftwich's house. That becomes a story because the person's house who got broken into announces that, hey, Tom Brady literally just broke into my house. We had an entire situation. He was just looking for Byron Leftwich's house, which was right next door. The NFL GMs and coaches were like, well, that's not allowed. This is a dead period. Coaches aren't allowed to be talking to players. Why is Tom Brady breaking into the neighbor of Byron Leftwich's house? And why is he breaking into Byron Leftwich's house? Byron Leftwich and Tom Brady had to explain to the NFL, no, it was just a playbook thing. We're just giving him the playbook. Well, that's interesting because Gronk then came out and said, I had the playbook 4 weeks before I even got on the team, which would have been before Tom Brady breaks into the neighbor's house or into Byron Leftwich's house. So this becomes a firestorm because they're like, what's going on down there in Tampa Bay? Gronkowski's got the playbook. Tom Brady's breaking into people's houses with the playbook, and everybody just comes out and say, yeah. Not that I was joking. He is what Rob Gronkowski said. I was joking. But you could see how every other NFL team is watching every move that these Buccaneers are doing. How did you land Tom Brady? We'd like to know. Oh, it's because you don't have a dead period. You're doing other stuff. Oh, now you got Gronkowski. How do we work with that? All of this is a bunch of fodder because there's a chance that the Buccaneers are going to be great. And anywhere Tom Brady goes, there is going to be a spotlight in anything they do. If it proceeds to be illegal, people are going to have quite a bit of a problem with it. So Gronkowski, I think, in an effort to get a pop out of the group that he was with, a laugh, in turn could have put the Tampa Bay Buccaneers in trouble. That's why I had to come out with a full statement and say, tee, I was joking.
Yeah, I'm just such a good host that That's just what I do.
That's what he is. He's a good host. He's trying to, he's reading the room. That's what they wanted to hear at the time, and I can respect that. I mean, Gronkowski knows exactly what the people want to hear. It gets the people going,
He also said that he doesn't need a playbook. He just Gronk run, Gronk catch ball. No playbook needed.
See? He did say the he. That is why we were all saying it, because he actually ended it with he. And he also had a wowzers in there, which, by the way, hilarious response to a potential accusation that they were cheating. Wowzers and he. And that's why Gronkowski is beloved by many.
At least we know now that the cheaters are out of New England, and we got a clean slate, and now no more accusations, and playbook gate would have been a massive thing, but we'll just throw it under the rug because it's Brady.
Old Keto Connor back there throwing around accusations.
Not an accusation. I mean, they were not allowed to meet. They did, and there should be a suspension, I think.
Connor said yesterday in a fit of fury, he said, "I'm just happy to know that if Tom Brady broke into Bill Belichick's neighbor's house and then ended up in Bill Belichick's house, that the Patriots would have been treated the same exact way as the Tampa Bay Buccaneers are getting treated, which is like, oh yeah, they're just picking up the playbook." I was like, well, that doesn't. He was in the same place for 20 years. He didn't need the playbook. He's like, you get what I'm saying?
Yeah, you do.
You get what I'm saying?
You do get what I'm saying.
You get what I'm saying?
You do get what I'm saying.
You get what I'm saying?
You do get what I'm saying.
You understand that the Patriots are always getting.
You do understand.
Who's more beloved right now? Bill Belichick and his dog Nike, or Tom Brady and Gronkowski?
Nike.
People are doing interviews because of Nike.
Dogs play.
Linda Holiday, who's Bill Belichick's longtime girlfriend, gave an interview to Adam Schefter about Nike sitting on the thing. And then Bill Belichick at one point was holding Nike. It's like he went to PR camp and said, "How do you do?" "Oh, you get an incredible cute puppy, and you just put him on television with you." And Bill Belichick's like, "You got it." He's just holding his husky. You see, his Nike. He's a good doggy.
Give him a treat, Bill.
Speaking of PR camp, and I forgot to put it on here, I don't know how. Our commissioner just turning down $40 million.
That's what. Listen, my commissioner, Roger Goodell, knows that when there's a worldwide pandemic and people are losing their jobs and the stock market's crashing and it's a bad time, Roger Goodell, my commissioner, says, "You know what? Pay me nothing for the month. Take all my money and move it to next month's payment." They made that a big story. And that was obviously something where they're like, hey, but by the way, I don't think Goodell did. I don't think Goodell put this out, by the way, because he chose this a couple weeks ago. This story just got released yesterday or something like that. That's somebody in the NFL. It's like, hey, we can ride this wave of good momentum with Roger Goodell. He was eating M&Ms in his basement and chilling. Now let's say he's the everyday man. He turned down money because everybody else was in a bad spot, but everybody knows he'll just get paid the money that he lost last month the next month, and I can still respect it. Rob Manfred would never do that. Joining us now, number one radio show host in Pittsburgh's history, ladies and gentlemen, former WCW commentator, the best heel walking, Mark Madden.
Yeah!
Woo! I got to be honest, Pat. I'd have taken the 40 mil over the good PR. I'd have taken the 40 mil every time if I'm Goodell. But good on him. He looked human at the draft. Maybe he's moving in the right direction in terms of public perception.
Well, I think it's because Rob Manfred was so inept at his job whenever he called the World Series trophy a piece of metal, and then the way he handled the Houston Astros thing. I think whenever you put those two next to each other, Goodell looks like a god in this thing.
Well, no question, along with the perception of football as having taken over from baseball as America's pastime. And I don't know if you heard, but a Houston Astros employee from 2017, some low-level slug, tried to sell his World Series ring at auction, and the Astros stopped him because there's some kind of clause when you get a World Series ring that the team can opt to buy it back if the employee tries to sell it. But the weird part is they were notified this guy had the ring on at auction by somebody banging on a trash can really hard. So never changed.
I knew you were going somewhere, Mark. By the way, you look fantastic this morning. You look electric.
Oh, I look depressed and bored and like I just want all this crap to be over. And I do. This is a really bad time, not only for somebody who makes a living from sports, but somebody whose passion is sports. I literally have nothing to do, Pat. My show every day is just recycled nostalgia and looking at the NFL draft for a season that may never take place. It's just a stink sandwich, and right now we all have to take a bite. You too. I'm sure doing this show, you know exactly what I'm talking about.
Well, yeah, I just hit massive amounts of vitamins, walk in here and just let things fly. I mean, that's what I've been doing. Obviously, I'm not at your level, and there's a reason because that is what I do. But let's talk about the current state of sports and things like that. I follow along with you on the internet. You're one of my favorite follows just because you are the consummate heel at all times. You're not scared to get in there and work. But some of the things you've been saying have been a little bit alarming in my eyes because I do consider you a very smart man, tested IQ of 166. Your thought,
166, that's right.
Yeah, your thoughts are, which by the way, normal person below 100. So I mean, you start doing the math. I mean, you're a superhuman.
Most of my listeners way below 100.
Get them however you can. But the things you've been saying about you don't see how sports come back anytime soon, in my eyes, has been a bit alarming. Do you want to elaborate on that a little bit?
Well, never mind football, Pat. Sports has become political football. The two sides in the country, the left and the right, are going back and forth, and whatever one wants, the other doesn't. The left, the Dems, they don't want sports to come back because if you want sports to come back, you're selfish and you want people to die. That is pretty much the attitude that one side has toward the other if they want sports. It's like, look at Fauci. Fauci said sports could be restarted under certain conditions. And that's the one thing people don't want to believe. I don't know why people have it in for sports and don't want it to start, including like Deadspin. Deadspin, which used to be really good and now really sucks. all their good writers left. Now they have a bunch of clowns who can't write, period. And the ones who do write fairly well don't know how to write the style. But they're campaigning against sports coming back. Every article they have, how can you even think about it? Well, what happens when you get fired? Because there's no sports, because there's not a lot of call for sports commentary when games don't get played in, like, say, 6 months or a year, which is what we seriously might be looking at. I'm just not optimistic because I haven't seen a restart plan for anything that I really like. And nobody's run much past the players. The players are spoiled, whiny brats in just about every sport. They're not going to want to come back unless it's perfectly 100% safe. Pat, it's true. Look at what Kershaw and Trout said. They said if they do that Arizona bubble, we're not playing. It's your job. Play. Other people are doing their jobs that are in far more danger. It's your job, so play. Now, the only sport where that might be different is football. Because in football, the players do what they're told for better or worse, and football has so much power. The networks have so much power that football just might bulldoze its way in and play no matter what anybody else wants.
I mean, you taking a shot at a lot of players who are, in their eyes, sticking up for their health and their friends' health is wildly hilarious, and we could address that. But I do want to talk about...
Let's address it. It's their job.
I understand.
We need morale in this country. Pat, if we played all the major sports through World War II, we never stopped during World War II. They were sending one-armed guys out to play the outfield in Major League Baseball during World War II. If we can play during World War II, we can play during this.
Okay. I don't think World War II had a virus that was potentially just floating through the sky and killing people, which is what they were saying earlier. I don't know if it's still...
There was a virus that was going to show up and kill people. Believe me.
Nazis were a bad virus. I agree, but I would assume that some stadiums thought they're okay. But let's...
Well, Pat, you would say that because you're an ex-player, but you're not one of the Brotherhood anymore, okay? You'll go as far as I have someday, son, if you realize that.
I do.
No, seriously, these guys got to play. That's their job. If they're told to play, they should play.
Okay. Well, I'd assume that they have arguments in that, but I do want to talk about playing. The Korean Baseball Association or organization or whatever is getting back into the swing of things over in Korea, which was one of the earliest countries that was hit. They were on a full lockdown for a bit. They're getting back into sports. Does that make you a little bit more optimistic, or do you think things are going to be a bit different over here?
They'll be different over here. The athletes in Korea aren't spoiled brats. Believe me, when this gets run past the athletes are not going to want to play.
What will make the athletes want to play?
Hockey agents, and hockey's the one where you think, okay, they're team guys, they'll come back. The hockey agents I've talked to are pessimistic. By the way, did you know Young Ho Gun is playing in Korea?
Young Ho Gun. That's
remember the pirate guy?
No, I don't remember Young Ho. There was a Pittsburgh Pirate named Young Ho Gun.
Yeah, you don't remember that?
The Pirates stink. I don't pay attention to them, Mark.
That totally spoils my joke, Pat, because he got arrested a bunch of times for drunk driving over here. And I was going to say, let him play baseball, just don't let him drive. And now you spoiled the joke by not knowing who he was.
I know Jason Kendall is. If you would have said Jason Kendall was playing over there, I would have lost my mind.
It still hit 200.
And his pop time. Jason Kendall's pop time was second to none. What do you think it would take for the players to want to get back into this thing? Now, you're saying they're spoiled brats. I'm saying they're probably thinking about their families and their futures. But let's just get past that point. What do you think the players would need to get back into the arena?
Well, first off, the thing about their families, they would be quarantined from their families. And if they don't want to do that, I get it. But, a lot of people travel or on the road all the time and don't see their families very much. You're asking athletes to finally accept sacrifices that normal people have been accepting for years. So I just want to get that out of the way. But what was the other question?
What do you think it would take for these athletes who have
vaccine.
sacrificed their entire life, by the way? They've
A
sacrificed
vaccine, period.
So you think a vaccine is what's going to be needed for this world to get back running, especially in the sports world?
Yes. Yes, I do. That's not how it should be. And if we get a vaccine, what if it's like the flu and the vaccine doesn't guarantee that you can't get it? Then where do we go? I mean, not just sports-wise, but societally. This is just, I don't know. There's no right or wrong way to handle all this because it's unprecedented. I kind of look at what Sweden did, where they just, used social distancing but didn't shut anything down, and they've developed herd immunity or closer to it than we are. I don't know if there's a right or a wrong way here. I don't know if it's been handled poorly or correctly. It's just unprecedented. That's why whenever I see the finger of blame being pointed anywhere, I just kind of go, I don't know about that because, again, unprecedented.
Yeah, we live in a wild time. Wrestling is still continuing, though, which you are a big fan of. Are you still watching?
Right, because those guys do what they're told. They're scared to death of losing their job. They would dive into a big vat of coronavirus if it meant keeping their job.
Okay, let's talk about the people who would dive into a vat of coronavirus to keep their
That's
job.
a good spot, by the way. I'm sure you'd agree.
Yeah, put a big, maybe like a pot or like a bowl of it, like a stew.
Surround the ring with the mode of coronavirus. You lose if you get thrown into it in more ways than one.
Would you ever get back into wrestling? When you were commentating at WCW, I mean, it was electric on Monday nights.
Everybody thinks I stunk now, but that's a bunch of marks who are jealous because I got to do it and they didn't. I had a great time doing it. It was a product in its death rattle, but I really enjoyed it. Would I ever get back into it? Pat, I think I'm too old. I really do. I'm 59. I've never been in the best shape or the best health. To get back on the road all the time and handle that, I don't think I could. I don't think I'd be interested, not to brag, but I'm about to do exactly that. I make more money than probably 2/3 of the in-ring performers working in wrestling today. So there's no financial need for me to do it. So even though it was the time of my life, and I've been doing some of those fan conventions, those StarCasts that guy Conrad Thompson does. He's a great guy. I enjoy doing them a lot. I get to see the boys again. That's going to be, I think, about the extent of my participation.
What are those StarCasts like? I've never been to one, but I've seen the collection of stars that they got. It looks like a good time.
It's exactly what you think it is. It's just a bunch of marks getting autographs and taking pictures and having conversations. And we go up on stage and we do panels and discussions and stuff like that. I did one with Brian Pillman Jr., me and a couple other guys, and young Brian, because he and his dad and I were extremely close back when. I miss Brian. I did, I always talk about Eddie Guerrero because I was friends with him. That Dark Side of the Ring stuff, those shows are great, by the way.
Oh, yeah.
And I was real good friends with Benoit, too. And it's like illegal to say that. And he did what he did, and there's no forgiving that. But he was a great guy. So, as weird as it sounds, even though that particular documentary brought back a lot of painful memories, it brought back a lot of good memories of Chris and Eddie as well. Because Chris and Eddie were like a package. That's how they were discussed. Chris and Eddie. They were like a single organism. They were so close.
Okay. I want to pivot back to the NFL. If you're not going to get back into wrestling, I'm not happy about that, but I understand the health concerns. It's a wildlife.
Well, to be fair, Pat, nobody wants me either.
If AEW wanted you or WWE wanted you, would you go?
I wouldn't work for Vince McMahon ever. You know what I'm talking about. He does the human cockfighting gimmick all the time. He pits people against each other. He lies all the time. If you want an argument against working for Vince McMahon, read Jim Ross's new book, Under the Black Hat, because nobody was more loyal to Vince McMahon than Jim Ross. And some of the things Vince McMahon did to Jim Ross were unforgivable. The way he embarrassed him, the way he treated him behind the scenes, absolutely unforgivable. And if he can do that to Jim Ross, he can do that to anybody.
Okay, how about AEW then in your eyes?
Well, that's not going to happen, but I think it's a great promotion.
Okay.
I love watching it. It's my only regular wrestling watch. Actually, here's what I do. I'm a big, friend and fan of the Flair family.
Okay.
So I flip back and forth between AEW and NXT on Wednesdays, but the only time I stay with NXT is if Charlotte Flair's wrestling.
Woo!
And last way, she had a great match with Mia Yim. Charlotte Flair is the best in-ring performer in wrestling today. Man or woman, and it's not even close. But otherwise, I think AEW is a great show. Because of the Jim Ross influence and because Tony Khan was a big fan of this era, it reminds me a lot of Mid-South wrestling from the 80s. It's very focused, very intense, very traditional. I like it a lot.
Well, they're doing well. They're winning ratings battles.
Well enough,
What's that?
Well enough. I mean, like I always say, they draw like 700,000, viewers per week. WCW and its death rattle with me on color drew like 2.5 million all the time. It's a different time. Certainly their product now is better than our product then. But stuff like that needs to be noted. They're doing well by the standard of the day, but it's a much different day.
Well, there's a lot more options for content now with the internet and everything like that. So I think it's a lot harder to get the numbers that you used to get for certain things. And also, I think maybe whenever wrestling was hitting its heyday, kayfabe was still a thing, So it was like, I think people were still interested as if it was like a UFC fight, like what the hell's going to happen, I think.
Well, the worst thing that ever happened with wrestling was when they admitted out loud it was predetermined. Yeah. I hate the word fate. So does Dr. D. David Schultz, apparently. By the way, did you watch that Dark Side of the Ring?
John Stossel catches 2 open hand slaps to the face.
You know what's amazing? Before I saw that documentary, I felt bad for John Stossel. I go, he didn't deserve that. And now hearing what he has to say all these years later, he deserved exactly that and more. Dr. D should drive to his house and rough him up again if he can find where he lives. But the worst thing wrestling ever did was admit out loud that it was scripted and predetermined, because even though everybody knew that, and Pat, like at a wrestling crowd, even back in the 70s, at the height of kayfabe, 80% of the people knew it was predetermined. In the 80s, probably 90. In the 90s, probably 95. But when they admitted it out loud, it keeps you from suspending disbelief. And now, all the smart fans, so-called smart fans, the smart marks, they go on internet and they get Meltzer's dirt sheet and they think they're in on it. And they go to big shows and try to ruin the show. They won't let the promotion just book the storylines. If they don't like it, they chant, they cheer at the wrong times. They try to ruin the show. Is that their right as a consumer? Of course it is. They bought the ticket. Are they dickheads? Absolutely.
Mark, we have to get to a break on radio, but will you stick around with us for our YouTube show, yeah?
Yes.
Okay, so we have to get to a break on radio. It is Thursday, April 30th. You're listening to the Pat McAfee Show. Mark Madden and I will continue this conversation, probably catch you on the other side. You're the absolute best. All right, Mark. Let's get back to let's talk about the Pittsburgh Steelers now at this point. Can you turn off that music? All right, let's talk about the Pittsburgh Steelers real quick, Mark. It was alleged by a guy named Nick Citro, who's a Tampa Bay Bucks reporter, that Jameis Winston turned down another lucrative offer to go join the Saints for $1.1 million. Then Nick Citro said that the Pittsburgh Steelers were the team that offered Jameis Winston a much more lucrative offer to be the backup quarterback. A lot of people saw Jameis Winston going to the Pittsburgh Steelers because he and Ben Roethlisberger, people were saying, were similar. And obviously after last year with Mason Rudolph and Duck Hodges, you would think the Steelers would be be in the market for a backup quarterback because they almost made the playoffs with, pretty average quarterback play. You came off the rafters on this guy yesterday, and the Steelers came out and said they were nowhere near negotiating with a veteran quarterback. What are your thoughts on this whole thing, and what do you think ultimately happened? And do you think Andy Dalton is potentially a Pittsburgh Steeler?
I think Andy Dalton's potentially a New England Patriot.
Okay.
I know that Bill Belichick is high on this Stidham kid who's barely played. I think Andy Dalton, he's no Brady, but he's Tom Brady light. He could fit into that system pretty quickly and pretty efficiently. As far as the Winston thing goes, this guy from, what's his name?
Nick Citro?
That's probably the last time it will be ever mentioned on a prominent media outlet again. This guy is not a New Orleans Saints reporter. He is an amateur fanboy blogger. And he said he had inside sources with the Steelers. Yeah, I bet he called Art Rooney. And Art Rooney's secretary said, "Hey, Art, the amateur fanboy blogger from New Orleans is on the phone." And I bet Art picked the phone right up, not to quote Wayne's World. So I don't believe anything that guy said. Like I said, that's the problem with the media today. There's professionals like you and me, and there's amateurs like this guy who just makes stuff up. Nate Burleson on the NFL Network saying Ben kept the Steelers from drafting a quarterback. He lied. He just made something up. Ooh. All the ex-players are still mad because Antonio Brown showed his ass after he left Pittsburgh, and it turned out his problems weren't caused by Ben Roethlisberger after all. As far as Winston to Pittsburgh goes, they were never going to bring a quarterback in. Rooney, Colbert, and Tom would have been telling us for months that they were satisfied with Mason Rudolph as the backup. And as far as what's best for Winston, it would have been better for him to come to Pittsburgh because Ben's coming off elbow surgery, missed 14 games last year. That would be a more likely chance to play. I know Drew Brees missed a couple games last year, but he's healed. And over his career with the Saints, Pat, he's played 97% of the Saints games. So Winston needs to find a place where it's likely he'll play. If Pittsburgh had offered and the offer had been better financially, he definitely would have come to Pittsburgh. So I know that offer was not made, both in terms of what I've been told and both in terms of what logic dictates.
So you're thinking that Nick Citro guy was potentially played by Jameis Winston's people in telling him, hey, this is who we had an offer by, because I think they were trying to stir up the fact that numerous teams were interested in him, and he ended up at the Saints for $1.1 million. I would assume this Citro guy's inside source was a part of Jameis Winston's team that was just flooding information.
I would assume he just absolutely made it up out of thin air because he had nothing else to post on his amateur blog that day.
Okay, a lot of blogs do well, but I respect it. I've never heard of the guy. I actually said I've never heard of this.
No, Pat, there are blogs and there are blogs. Like stuff like The Big Lead, technically that's a blog, but it's paid professionals and it's run that way. This Sidro guy, just amateur hour. Look at it. It's amateur hour.
Best deal in the business.
No, I'm not being a heel here. I'm being 100% correct.
Well, if you were Aaron Rodgers, how would you feel about them after making the NFC Championship game? Okay, they make the NFC Championship game, one game away from the Super Bowl. You have 4 years left on your contract. You played pretty good last year, 586 yards in drops. You probably would have played better if somebody would catch the ball for you. And they take your successor, who's supposed to be there in about 4 years, in Jordan Love.
I wouldn't be happy, but not from the standpoint that Jordan Love's a threat to my job, Pat. Do you think Jordan Love's a threat to Aaron Rodgers this year?
No.
Or even next year, or even the year after that if Aaron Rodgers maintains his level of play? I'd be mad because they didn't get me help at wide receiver with that pick.
Yes.
That's exactly what would make me mad. But from what my inside sources at Green Bay tell me, Matt LaFleur is just tired of Aaron Rodgers, and I don't blame him there because Aaron Rodgers looks like an easy guy to get tired of.
Oh.
And great quarterback, no question. But I think Matt LaFleur just wanted to get some leverage on Aaron Rodgers, and he figures this is it. But someone needs to tell Coach LaFleur that if there's a battle between him and Aaron Rodgers, there's only ever going to be one winner.
Yeah, and that same person, by the way, was the one that they chose instead of Mike McCarthy to go forward. And now here we are with the Last Dance running and Jerry Cross being made out as this bad guy who wanted to transform the team so he would get a little bit more credit. Do you see that same type of thought being put in play here by Gunther Kuntz, the GM of the Green Bay Packers? He wants to be able to get the credit because anytime they win, it's going to be Aaron Rodgers as opposed to Gunther Kuntz.
It wouldn't shock me if they got inspiration from that documentary. But what they really should figure out is that the Bulls never won again after Jerry Krause beat Michael Jordan, Phil Jackson. And boy, that is no less inexplicable to this day, all these years later, that they broke up that team like they did merely because Jerry Krause didn't like Phil Jackson, and for whatever reason, Jerry Reinsdorf backed the wrong horse. But the thing with Aaron Rodgers is he can get kind of twitchy. Everybody knows that. He shouldn't, but he might. And then you got Brett Favre jumping into the mix.
Oh, yeah.
Saying today that Aaron Rodgers will probably finish his career with another team, to which I say, hey, Brett, just because you were a big baby when they added Aaron Rodgers doesn't mean Aaron Rodgers has to be a big baby when they add Jordan Love.
All right. Ladies and gentlemen, the mouth of Pittsburgh. Tested.
Pat, I'm just telling you, like, Pat, you know Brett Favre's a big baby.
No, I saw Brett.
You played with the very gracious Peyton Manning. Doesn't mean there aren't big babies out there in the highly paid world of quarterback.
Brett Favre hit a golf ball 397 yards this last offseason, and I've never been more impressed with a guy with zero copper flex on. Zero copper flex on. Hey, take it easy. Ladies and gentlemen, tested IQ of 166. The mouth.
Always a pleasure, Pat. Pat, one last thing. You got to come back. You got to punt for Pittsburgh.
Well, if they would have got Jameis, I would have thought about it.
Oh, you are a diabetic.
Ladies and gentlemen, Mark Madden.
Yeah.
Appreciate you, man. I love that, man.
Legend.
I do. I love that, man. You should see Pittsburgh. Right now, Pittsburgh's probably upside down because of what he just said. Every word that comes out of his mouth, all of Pittsburgh reacts to. It is either absolute hatred or love for that guy. And you can see it. And he's embraced it for 20 plus years now, not only in the wrestling world, but in the sports talk world. I loved him burying that Nick Citro guy. I knew it was going to happen. I feel bad for Nick. I'm so sorry, but it just had to go down. We're back on the other side. This is the Pat McAfee Show. Worst show on the internet. Let me tell you a little story about these statistics. Troy Polamalu, okay? Fucking Troy Polamalu. So we had a fake for the Pittsburgh Steelers that was a 100%er. We didn't even have a cancel the goddamn play because it was a 100%er. If we ever end up in this situation, inside the 7-yard line on the left hash, it is a 100%er that the C gap will be wide open and we will just part the C to the left. It'll be a touchdown. 100%er. We're playing in Pittsburgh, the city I grew up in. I grew up in Pittsburgh. I won the punt, pass, and kick national championship, AJ. National championship, AJ.
Congrats.
AJ, did you ever win the national championship, punt, pass, and kick?
I think I got third or fourth out of 4 at the Nationals.
I'm proud of you, man. Anyways, so we're there in that stadium, okay? A lot of McAfee's in there. A lot of McAfee's in Pittsburgh. I'm going to score my first fucking touchdown, night game, Sunday Night Football, I believe it was, right here, touchdown. We get into that situation, and I'm like, holy fuck, this is really going to happen. We're like on the 6 on the left hash. It's 4th and goal now. Field goal team's jogging on. I'm like, well, fuck, it's about to, I'm ready. I am ready for this to happen. So I get out there. I get down. Vinny's like happy for me. Vinny's like very excited. He's like, let's fucking go. Like Vinny's excited for me at this moment. I'm like, here we go. So I make the call. I forget what it was. So I start saying it, right? And everybody's looking at me like, okay, bright eyes. Here we go. Let's get after it. Offensive linemen are dead ass tired. They do not want to be in the middle of a field goal anyways. So they're just like, all right, I don't give a fuck if you die here, but this should work. Let's get some points. And all of a sudden, I go through my cadence, I call it, I get down, and Troy Polamalu's fucking ass goes ahead for however long his career was at this point. I think it was like 9 years or 8 years at this point. Not a once has he ever gone to this side of the field over here to the left and covered, stood right in the C gap. Never. He lined up exactly where he had lined in film 100% of the time. And then as soon as I got to like the second cadence right before set, he just bounced his little ass right over to the C gap. And I like stopped everything I was doing and I literally just looked at him. And I gave him like a, what the fuck are you doing, man? Like, why are you there right now? And then I stood up and said, we are kicking it. We don't have it. We have to kick it. We are kicking this. And then I get down, and Vinatieri kicks it, and I jog off the field. And Chuck Pagano comes running up next to me. He's like, hey, good job. What you see? I said, what did I see? Polamalu just fucking went right into the goddamn C gap. What did I see? What did I see? And he goes, okay, sounds good. Good call then. And good call then. And then Vinatieri's like, hey, way to go, buddy. I'm like, way to go? Are we not going to talk about how big of a fucking asshole Troy Polamalu is for what just happened right there? So that's...
I saw the angel of death waiting for me in the C gap.
It's unbelievable. What, you thought I was going to run him over? No way. He's probably going to strip me and score a touchdown the other fucking. That's Polamalu, bro. That ain't just your backyard football with your son. These are professional fucking athletes. He'd probably jump over the lineman, pick me up, and run me into the other fucking end zone if he wanted to. That's what he would have done.
The hard-hitting safety of his generation, too. I mean, Ed Reed, great cover safety. I don't know that you would have feared him, but
Ed Reed, I would have feared Ed Reed. Yeah, if I saw Ed Reed in that C gap, absolutely. Reed, boy, the best safety you ever seen, boy. I ain't doing shit to Ed Reed.
No, Ed Reed would have made the tackle. I'm saying that Polamalu would have shaved years off your life.
Oh, my God.
Let's get it. Let's go. Dream house is a tour bus. Scream loud that you knew us. Deep down on the new plug. You ain't about to get too dust. Pete's brown when they crew scrubs. Sweet sound from the two subs. Beats loud as a move, bruh. Lead the crowd like, ooh, what? Long hair on the big body. 210s, both sitting shoddy. Crack a bit, start getting rowdy. Blowing nose, looking like an Audi. It's Uncle Sam without the taxes. Crowd stands up, I keep them loud. I made this beat, you hear it smacking? Who is 30? Hand me a nap. You probably wasn't expecting this. What? Expected this?
It's the Pat McAfee Show. We talking to microphone.
Talk to the microphone. Talk to the microphone.
Talking to microphone.
Just trying to let you know. It's the Pat McAfee Show.
It's a show. It's a show. Show up.
Hey, welcome to the Pat McAfee Show here Thursday, April 30th, hour 2 about to kick off. I'm joined by all the boys. Whoever sent that song in, by the way, did a really good job.
Very good.
We are still accepting applications for a new show, intro song. Email those to stuff4, the number 4, the show at patmcafeeshow.com. Also, if you have graphics, pictures, looking to get hired, send some of your work to stuff, S-T-U-F-F, the number 4, the show at patmcafeeshow.com. I will not be looking at it. Somebody else will. Hopefully I'll get a chance to see some of your work or hear some of your work. A lot of people say they want to work here. Go ahead and start sending some stuff in there and let's see what you got. Joining me at Nick Moraldo, Tone Diggs, Ty Schmidt, Jason McAfee, Zito Perez, Evan Foxy, and keto Connor Campbell.
Yeah, healthy. Woo!
I don't know if the way you're doing keto is healthy, but it is a way to cut out the weight. Is this your first time?
This is my first time on a diet, yes.
Were people calling you fat on the internet? That's why you did it?
No. I was calling myself fat in the mirror, but if people say what they want on the internet, I don't care.
People are mean on the internet. Don't listen to what they say. That's what I was about to say. Is, hey, don't you change your entire life because of some stooge, troll, mean person on the internet. That is not how this goes.
Never. No, I just know in my heart of hearts that eventually I will go outside again. And that, yes, the massive tits that I have to go.
All right. Well, Thursday, April 30th, the big news of the day is that Andy Dalton has officially been released from the Cincinnati Bengals. We all knew this was going to come. We thought it was going to come 2 to 3 days after the draft. It's 4 now after the draft. Andy Dalton, now a free agent. A lot of people thinking maybe he's going to the Patriots. A lot of people thinking, whoa, what if he was to go back to the Lone Star State and be the quarterback for the Dallas Cowboys since they won't sign Dak Prescott? But we all believe that he's probably going to the Jacksonville Jaguars with Jay Gruden, who was an offense coordinator for him for 3 years. They had a lot of success together, and that might be why they immediately traded Big Richard Nick Foles to Chicago, why they sat and waited while a lot of big names are on the market, including Tom Brady, Jameis Winston, Cam Newton. The Jacksonville Jaguars, they sat back and said, no, we're riding this Minshew mania lightning bolt for at least the foreseeable future. They probably knew that Andy Dalton was going to get released as soon as you draft Joe Burrow because he's getting paid too much to be a backup. Bang, he's probably going to Jacksonville, although all those other landing spots are where people are saying he could go. I'll be intrigued to see what happens with Ginger Tarzan.
Does we talked about it a little bit in the first hour with what his contract potentially would be. Will Jameis getting that amount of money, is that going to harm him in any way?
It's very interesting because anytime somebody takes a contract, that contract is immediately used in negotiations for anybody else at the position that you're currently in. I would assume that Tom Brady's contracts that he always signed that were underpaid were brought up by other teams whenever they were trying to sign their quarterback. It's like, you know what, Tom Brady, you want to make more money than Tom Brady? You think you deserve more money than Tom Brady? Yeah, well, Tom Brady already has $100 and some million. This is a whole different conversation. I don't know if the Jameis Winston thing will affect backup quarterback deals. Mariota just got $8 million. I believe Chas Daniel's making $6 million with the Detroits. I believe Teddy Bridgewater last year made $8 million. I believe there's still going to be a market, but I do think Jameis Winston going down to the Saints and signing a $1.1 million deal with incentives involved could affect old Andy Dalton, Ginger Tarzan, who's made a lot of money and had a lot of success, by the way. Andy Dalton has played very good football. Where will he land next? Excited to see. Maybe the Pittsburgh Steelers, who have said they like Mason Rudolph as their backup quarterback. You could get a better Mason Rudolph and Andy Dalton and see how it goes. But I'm pumped for Ginger Tarzan. We're going to try to get him on one of our shows stat. Either this show or McAfee and Hawk. We are going to try our absolute best because when you're in a backyard in Texas and your infants are tossing you snaps and you're slinging the rock looking like you haven't done your hair in about a whole quarantine, I mean, that is a guy you want on your team. He's a good guy, funny guy, leader, just couldn't get it done in Cincinnati, couldn't get to the big game, which, by the way, nobody could. Will Joe Burrow be able to? Interested to see. But now Andy Dalton's on the market, and I think he's going to be a hot commodity for a couple squads.
Yeah, you at least want to see. I would love him as a backup in Pittsburgh in case something happened to Ben. But for Andy's sake, I'd love for him to see him be able to compete for a starting job because I think he's got that talent.
I think Andy Dalton is very good. We are a pro Andy Dalton show.
Big time.
We're also a big-time pro Aaron Rodgers show because Aaron Rodgers still has 4 more years on his contract. 4 more years. 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 He still has 4 more years on his contract and draft Jordan Love in the first round without giving him any weapons or maybe even defensive help whenever they gave up 300 yards rushing in the NFC Championship game. None of it makes sense. And Gunther Kuntz is still out there trying to piss off Aaron. So what we've been saying this entire time is Aaron has to be upset. I have not talked to Aaron Rodgers. I choose not to talk to my friends who have potential breaking news strictly because they and I know that I got no filter. Whatever you tell me is going to come out of my mouth. I mean, that's just the way it goes. So I've tried to stay away from that. But Brett Favre, who did talk to Aaron Rodgers, Brett Favre was on Rich Eisen yesterday, and he was spilling the beans on his thoughts, not necessarily what Aaron's thoughts are, but Brett Favre was talking about how he would feel if he was in Aaron's position because, by the way, he was kind of in the same exact position as Aaron Rodgers years and years ago.
And I think Aaron will finish somewhere else. That's my gut. I guarantee you this, and I don't know this for certain, but I guarantee you it's got the wheels turning in Aaron's mind. Which if that's the case, then that means that there's a chip on his shoulder towards the organization that otherwise was not there. And so all he needs is a reason other than this reason to expedite that.
Okay, so kind of backpedaled at the end there, but at the beginning he said all that he needed was a reason to get the gears rolling. You got to remember, a week ago or almost a week and a half ago on either this show or McAfee and Hawk Sports Talk, which is on Monday, Tuesday, Thursday, Friday, 1 p.m., youtube.com/the Pat McAfee Show, he told us that he wants to finish his career with the Green Bay Packers. It's a big deal to him for his legacy to be with the Green Bay Packers for the entire time. He said that he'll play 4 years from now. He'll be 40, a little bit over 2 decades in football. Then he'll reevaluate where he's at. And all he wants to do is finish a Green Bay Packer. And then this draft happens and you think, oh, okay, so the Green Bay Packers don't want Aaron Rodgers to finish a Green Bay Packer. His deal is set up over the next 2 years. They owe him a lot of money. The back two, not so much. So I think what everybody's thinking, their minds was, we're bringing Jordan Love in here. He's a guy that we know could be a dual threat quarterback. And then they move in 2 years from now when Aaron's big money's up and we can move him, then Jordan Love takes it over. And Aaron Rodgers, I think he was being sincere whenever he said he wants to finish his career as a Green Bay Packer. I think as a California guy going into Green Bay, he's become a man in Green Bay, experienced a lot of things in Green Bay, has built up a Hall of Fame career in Green Bay. He had a lot of respect and gratefulness to the city of Green Bay and to the Green Bay Packers. Then this happens, and just like Brett Favre said, all he wanted to, now you got the gears flowing. Now he's starting to think like, well, why should I finish in Green Bay? Now he's completely questioning, why is that the best legacy? You look at Brett Favre, you look at Montana, you look at Manning, you look at all these, Tom Brady now, you look at all these other quarterbacks who finished their career elsewhere, and you have to go, well, why not me? This isn't that big of a deal. A lot of people have done it before, although that was my legacy before. My legacy was whenever I thought that this team wanted to buy in and really win during the tail end of my career. So if you're Aaron Rodgers and the gears are flowing to go somewhere else, when does he try to push that narrative? When does he come out and say, get me the hell out of here? And do you think it'll be the Packers that'll push him out? Because it feels as if there is probably 20 teams that would love to have Aaron Rodgers as their quarterback for the next 5 to 6 years. One of them is not the Green Bay Packers, which is absolutely insane to me.
Yeah, as tough as it is to say, like, someone mentioned it yesterday, like, this is a different regime completely. So it's like, I don't know if he really feels the same amount of like respect and like that he kind of owes those people for drafting him. So, I mean, that's definitely what they're doing. They're not like everyone's been saying on TV too, like Jordan Love, like quarterbacks, first round quarterbacks don't sit for 3 to 4 years anymore. It just doesn't happen. So they're clearly going to see what Rodgers does these next 2 years. And I think even if like the Packers were to win the next 2 Super Bowls, they'd still get rid of him.
Do you think we recruit Aaron to the Indianapolis Colts in a couple years when there's Phillip Rivers?
Yes. Yeah.
I'll be like, hey, man, listen, I'll go look for a nice house. It ain't going to be Malibu, but we do got a nice lake here. And these houses, you could probably buy 2 of them, just like Bezos did in Manhattan, and weld them together. Yeah. You could probably get a 70,000 square foot house here if we get 2-3 houses and just weld them together with a tunnel like they have in Minneapolis, wherever the entire city's connected. Mm-hmm. Aaron can do that here in Indianapolis. We can get that started now, by the way. So in 2 years, Aaron Rodgers come put the horseshoe on. We go for Phil Rivers right into Aaron Rodgers. I mean, I don't know if Chris Ballard would love that, but I'm telling you who would. Me.
It's funny you say that because it would definitely there's probably teams out there right now like, all right, we know that Aaron is probably going to be done with the Packers in 2 years, who are now setting up plans to try to get him in 2 years.
Just like people were allegedly setting up plans to get Tua. They didn't succeed in their plans, but they ended up getting Tua anyways. Just like people are probably trying to figure out if Trevor Lawrence is somebody that they should try to go get. Maybe the Jaguars, by the way, are like, if we get Trevor Lawrence, we're in a much better spot. Down there in South Carolina, right? That's where Clemson is. Jacksonville's northern Florida there. Mm-hmm. Probably think, hey, we could probably get some fans here. Trevor Lawrence could be our guy. What if the Jacksonville Jaguars are currently tanking for Trevor? That's why they have no other quarterbacks.
Be smart.
If they don't sign Andy Dalton, it will make me question a lot of things. I respect that Gardner Minshew had a good rookie year. Is Gardner Minshew going to win you guys a Super Bowl, though? Is that what your team's trying to do, or are you guys just hanging out? Or are they trying to get Trevor Lawrence? But just like what you said, though, there's teams that prepare for the future and getting better immediately. Getting Aaron Rodgers on your team would make you better, unless you're the Green Bay Packers and you think somehow it's only making it worse.
Isn't that also tough to because who knows how the landscape of the league will look in 2 years in terms of the teams? Because it'll be
How
the
about
same
the salary cap too?
Well, that too, but I mean in terms of Rodgers isn't just going to go play for some bum ass franchise. He's obviously going to try to maximize how many years he has left.
Who knows? 12 minutes after the hour, we have to get to a break. We have an NFL senior reporter from Yahoo coming on. We'll ask him what he's hearing, what his sources are saying.
Yeah.
Where's Aaron Rodgers going to go in 2 years, pal?
Pats.
Or is he going to pull a Carson Palmer? Say, I'd rather retire than play for this team.
I hope he does not do that.
Brett Favre said it. He's completely understand if he's disappointed. I'm not saying he is what Brett Favre said, but if he is disappointed, completely okay. Rich Eisen got a great interview out of Brett Favre yesterday. A lot of talking points. Shout out to Rich. YouTube.com/Rich Eisen Show, I believe. All right, we got Charles Robinson from the Yahoo, which still exists. You're listening to the Pat McAfee Show. Ladies and gentlemen, every once in a while we like to dive deep into the annals of the internet. And the most beautiful part of the internet is the YouTube comment section. For some YouTube. Bam, 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 questions.
YouTube questions.
What do we got, Zeke?
All right, so there wasn't really a lot of good ones today, but Ryan Turner had a good one. Disney offer NBA to play at Disneyland. Should the players go on rides after they win, and what do you think about them going to Disney World?
Yeah, so the thought is that the NBA will be doing their thing from Disney World or Disneyland?
Disneyland, sorry.
Well, it could be either of them, right? That would be a place that has enough hotels, by the way, and the facilities to house everybody and keep everybody kind of separated if they're at Disney World. I think that's a smart concept. I think that's a smart idea. I'd be pumped to see who gets to stay in the Princess's Castle or whatever up at the top of that thing. Probably LeBron.
Yeah.
LeBron, by the way, is in the Princess
Queen.
Castle.
That makes sense.
Take it easy. It's the king, bro.
Oh, yeah. Princess Castle. Confused me.
You just slipped up a little bit. It happens.
Yeah.
Well, not against LeBron. Don't be doing that. No. But I think that'd be awesome. If they run an NCAA March Madness like thing down at Disney World, because then, by the way, the shots behind the scenes of them going back to their houses, the meetings in the living rooms of different hotels and places, I mean, that could be pretty awesome. Who knows what's going to happen, especially if there isn't a vaccine available. What player is going to say who has done more research in their eyes than everybody else, and they've seen, they have a family member, what player is going to be like, no, I'm not doing that, man. I just saw this. That is very interesting. You got to get a lot of get a lot of people on the same page, and I'll be pumped to see if they can ever make that happen, because we just saw the NFL and NFLPA come through the CBA. What was it, a 51% to 49% on a new CBA, a new collective bargaining agreement, which had billions and billions of dollars on the line. But this could potentially, in a lot of players' eyes, be like, "Oh, this is a life or death decision." I don't know how you get everybody on the same page. Mark Madden might be onto something with thinking like, "Yo, this shit ain't going to be for a while." Cause
with Karl Anthony Towns too, his mother passed away, and he's the best player on the Timberwolves. Why would he ever do that?
Yeah, I don't know. I don't know how they get it going. And after what we heard from Shams Charania yesterday about the memo, 16-page memo that was set out to let guys into the facility to work out, only 4 in there at a time. They have to be 12 feet apart from each other. They have to get tested and ECGs before every single one. There has to be a facilities hygiene. It seems like, although we're hearing news of optimism, if you really peel back the onion a little bit and get in there, it's going to be a little bit of a kick in the dick to get things going, which is a shame, because we all need it. We all want it. We're all fiending for it. But it feels like we're still a little bit away, which means we'll continue to dance, monkey dance, and smoke vitamins and talk into a microphone. Joining us on the other side, handsome Charles Robinson, senior NFL reporter from Yahoo. But that has been another beautiful edition of the YouTube question. Welcome back to the Pat McAfee Show. TMZ reporting this morning that Mason Rudolph is currently in the middle of a quarantine romance with Bachelor star Hannah Ann. So Mason Rudolph, backup quarterback for the Steelers, alleged backup quarterback to stay. He was the man who got his helmet ripped off and then hit in the head with said helmet on a primetime football game, now dating Bachelor star Hannah Ann. Who's Hannah Ann?
She was the person who got picked this last season, got proposed to, and then cameras came a couple weeks later and he broke off the engagement for the other girl.
No.
Yeah, and she really let him have it on live TV.
Oh, no. Was that Chase Rice's ex?
No, she got eliminated as well, just some other girl.
Oh, okay.
It's Mason's second string again.
Diggs. Hey, backups with backups.
Yeah.
That is how love happens. Good for Mason Rudolph. Still has a job. Ladies and gentlemen, chatting now about all of his duties in the NFL, senior reporter for Yahoo, Charles Robinson. Attaboy, Charles!
Yahoo Sports, we're still out here existing.
Why'd your guy have to come after the city of Indianapolis? I didn't even know that dude existed, and he put a bad name on Yahoo Sports out here. I got a bad taste in my mouth for that guy.
Hey, you know what? We're doing everything we can just to stay afloat here. This has been the best job security of my life. I've been here 16 years, so it's fine with me. The checks keep catching.
Okay, so Yahoo Sports, still a thing. This guy, 16 years covering the NFL. You broke the Jameis Winston to New Orleans news. How did that come about? And did you know when you were breaking the news that he was getting $1.1 million as his contract?
Well, to answer the first question, I had heard heading into the draft that the Saints felt pretty good about their quarterback situation. And I had known prior to that they wanted to add somebody. So it was clear they weren't going to commit an early draft pick. There was some talk about Jordan Love, and all of a sudden that sort of slid off the table for them. And it became apparent that they already had a deal worked out with someone. So then it was just the process of figuring out who it was, because I knew they were going to change the rule for Taysom Hill. He was going to keep doing all these different things, keeping him on the field. And I know they didn't want to expose him to injury. So process of elimination, I started working on Cam Newton, started working on Jameis Winston, made some calls on Andy Dalton to see if maybe he might be in play there. Eventually got word it was actually Winston. And yeah, I heard it was going to be a extremely economical deal. I heard it was going to be close to the veteran minimum for a guy who had 5 years in the books. And I'm just going to tell you, if Pittsburgh got involved and offered him less than the $1.1 million he took from New Orleans, I would be stunned if that was real.
Well, it was alleged that they offered him a more lucrative offer because the spin zone was Jameis Winston had an offer, a much more lucrative offer elsewhere, and has decided to go to the Harvard of football, which is be the backup for Drew Brees. And I think my initial question, literally as soon as Rappaport tweeted it out, I was like, who were the other people making offers? Just because, as somebody that has to talk about this, I would like to know what other teams are potentially in place. Everybody thought that was a shot at Jameis. That was not a shot at Jameis. That was me wondering what other teams are trying to make a play for a veteran quarterback, because then they could potentially get Cam Newton. What are you thinking about Cam Newton with all your inside sources? Where's that guy going to end up? Anywhere?
Well, look, Andy Dalton being free is a problem for Cam Newton, because there are a couple of teams. Jacksonville for a while has been a team that was potentially in play for him. I have to think with Jay Gruden there, I would say they're the front runners for Andy Dalton. Now, there are other teams that are looking for backups. The Dallas Cowboys, the New York Jets, I think, are a team that could potentially be in play. But to me, Jacksonville is really where Andy Dalton could go and potentially pull a Marcus Mariota, where he goes in and says, I'm better than that guy. And eventually they're going to figure it out. Plus, Jay Gruden's there. We have a relationship. That takes Cam, I think, out of that Jacksonville wheelhouse. And what I think is worse for Cam than even the Jameis situation is when you call around, you talk to teams that would even think about Cam, the first thing they say is, when do we get a medical on him? Like, when can we actually look at his shoulder? When can we look at his ankle? That's really part of what's depressing this, and the fact that there's for the first time ever in the NFL, there's a bazillion quarterbacks that have been available.
The Pittsburgh Steelers have been open about saying that they like Mason Rudolph as their backup quarterback. They said it last year, even when he was losing. They were like, yeah, we still like him as our backup quarterback. This entire offseason, they said that. Then they came out and said, we have not negotiated any contract offers with any veteran quarterbacks, including saying that they didn't do it with Jameis Winston. Now he's dating Bachelor star Hannah Ann, who came in second to Bachelor. Do you you think Mason Rudolph is ultimately the backup quarterback for the Pittsburgh Steelers whenever this season kicks off?
I think Mason Rudolph eventually is going to be let go, many of the Bachelor contestants. Look, do I think it's going to be this season? No. Do I think he's done, anywhere near what he needs to do to take that starting job when Ben Roethlisberger departs? No, I don't think Mike Tomlin and Kevin Colbert are as happy with him as they could be. That's a team, honestly, that I thought would be a little more active with the veteran free agent market. The only problem is Ben Roethlisberger, it's a tricky quarterback room if you bring in a guy that could potentially be a veteran who could step in a little more early than maybe a Mason Rudolph. They know, look, the backups they have there now, Ben's not threatened by those guys, and I think that's part of what the Steelers are trying to maintain until they can figure out what Ben's end date is.
By the way, that's a good balance there. It's like, okay, we got to balance the human of Roethlisberger here and make sure we really squeeze the entire grape. No. Orange. You squeeze the orange, freshly squeezed orange. We got to make sure we squeeze the orange completely here out of Ben Roethlisberger's career. Let's not piss him off. Let's not make him hate anything. Him and Antonio Brown got into it. We already Le'Veon Bell. We got rid of them. We brought in his guy. He got hurt. Let's at least give him an opportunity of feeling good in the season. See if we can do it, as opposed to what the Green Bay Packers did with Aaron Rodgers, just trying to piss him off immediately.
Yeah, and the crazy thing about the Packers that I don't think anyone realizes is Matt LaFleur, Aaron Rodgers, Jordan Love all have the same agency, which is just a whole other layer of stuff that's going on in the background here that not a lot of people are talking about. But if you're Aaron Rodgers, who is absolutely upset, and I heard what Brett Favre said, I think the one thing that Brett needs to realize, though, is there are cap ramifications that even if Aaron wanted out, there would be a lot of hoops to jump through. I mean, I think he's like a $51 million dead cap charge this year. If, say, hey, the Patriots were like, is Aaron available? Maybe Aaron wants out. There's the financial ramifications. But if you're Aaron Rodgers, you're sitting there and going, Matt LaFleur, you're repped by my guys. Jordan Love, you're repped by my guys. I did not see this coming at all in the first round that you would take this kid and then move up, spend assets to go and get him. Aaron is the master of saying exactly what he thinks behind the scenes and then taking the semi-high road publicly, and then as time unfolds, he'll make little, he'll make little comments that are suggestive of what he really thinks. Brett was dead on. Like, Aaron's not happy right now. I think he's upset with his agency. I think he's upset with a lot of people he feels like really didn't keep him abreast of what exactly was happening.
Well, he should be. The buffoon GM and head coach, they're trying to, it's like they watched The Last Dance. Somebody tweeted this, and they think Jerry Krause is the star of that team. Like, it just makes, if you have that guy, you've been in this for 16 years. If you have that guy, why not go all in here for his last couple of years to try to get another championship and then figure it out after? Now, granted, right. Will another Jordan Love emerge in the next couple of years? I would assume with the way college offenses are transitioning into the more option athletic style, at some point there might be another Jordan Love. Will there be another Aaron Rodgers? I'm just not 100% sure. And I guess they were that much in love with Jordan Love. Let's pivot again. Jameis Winston, he got LASIK surgery, and he said now he can see license plates for hit and runs for when he calls insurances and stuff like this. This is interesting to me. This guy threw for over 5,100 yards last year, and he couldn't see a damn thing. And in his explanation on why he got it and how it feels, instead of saying I could see my players better as opposed to other players, he said for license plates during hit and runs. So I love Jameis Winston. I'm a big fan of this. I got LASIK surgery. It literally was like overnight. The entire world was in HD all of a sudden. It was an incredible thing. I wonder why he didn't get the surgery earlier, but I think you have to have the same prescription for numerous years so your thing isn't still evolving. But is this him going to Drew Brees, him learning behind Drew Brees on how to watch film, how to take care of yourself in that Sean Payton offense, taking $1.1 million, and now he can see again? Do you think Jameis Winston gets back up to the top of the mountain?
This is like bad Major League, like by the end of that movie, they knew Greg Vaughn needed glasses, right? But like apparently Tampa, they never figured out over all those years.
Maybe the guy can't see.
Look, as you said, you talked about the spin with the money. Here's why, Jameis went here, but it's a good thing, even though he's taking close to the veteran minimum. Oh, he got LASIK. That's why he was throwing all these interceptions. It had nothing to do with the fact that, hey, Bruce Arians went in and said, no, just keep throwing it, man. And that was the last thing Jameis really needed to hear from a head coach. But look, he goes into New Orleans. It's not a bad situation. Like I think it's an interesting quarterback room. Those guys are all different. Like Drew is really serious. Taysom Hill's really serious. It's interesting. A couple years ago, I remember when they drafted Garrett Grayson. Drew Brees and Luke McCown was his backup. They ran over Garrett Grayson in the film room because he didn't know the offense, and they felt like he wasn't preparing to keep up, and they hammered him. And he got so lost and behind that Sean Payton had to tell the quarterbacks coach, you need to go coach this kid and teach him the offense outside of the meeting rooms because this is getting embarrassing. That's the one thing about Jameis, I would say, going into New Orleans. He better know that offense better than Drew Brees, better than Taysom Hill, because they will stomp him in that quarterback room. There's no doubt about that.
Is that story about Taysom Hill being the quarterback of the future for the Saints real, or are they grooming Jameis Winston to hopefully one day here after Drew Brees goes and just takes the job Sunday Night Football gig, by the way, which is quite a backup plan to have sitting there while you're playing in the NFL. Like, oh, yeah, I got Sunday Night Football as soon as I want. Do you think Taysom Hill is the quarterback of the future? And how come, this is everybody's question, last year they had a chance to see if he would be able to do anything, and instead Teddy Bridgewater balled out and got $21 million a year. Do you think that's the future? Is Taysom Hill down there?
I mean, they do. They committed the money to him. They signed him. They gave him the $21 million deal, $16 million guaranteed. But I think part of that was because, first off, they knew they had to commit money to him. Secondly, they know this is Drew's last year. I mean, Sean Payton came out and said it and then backed out of it. Everybody around Drew expects this to be his last year. Hey, couldn't we all have our next lucrative job lined up before we leave our current lucrative
Has
job?
that been widely reported that this is Drew Brees' last year?
Sean Payton came out and said it. He vocalized essentially that he thought this was going to be Drew's last year, and then he just said it was a slip of the tongue. He didn't believe that. But I'm just telling you, people close to Drew, when he announced he was coming back, I had a chance to talk to somebody who's known Drew for a long time, and he's like, this is it, man. This has got to be it. And everybody believes that. But you pay Taysom Hill because you just say, look, we want you to know that we do believe you're a quarterback. We want you to know we are going to groom you for this position. But I think in the back of their minds, they knew they were going to add a veteran to give themselves options. And there's a reason why those two contracts played out the way that they did. I think they don't want Taysom Hill to feel threatened by Jameis Winston. They can just turn to him and say, hey, man, we came to a minimum deal. We got this guy for nothing. You don't have anything to worry about. This is just in case you get hurt, doing this, Swiss Army knife roll, and Drew gets hurt. We got to have a quarterback on the roster. Sean really believes in when I was at the Super Bowl, and I remember I called someone in the Saints organization, and I had heard, you were hearing about Bridgewater and where was he going to go in free agency. And this was when Drew Brees was still on the sidelines. It was like, is he going to retire? Is he not going to retire? And this guy in the Saints organization told me, it doesn't matter. We don't care about, we want Taysom. Like, Taysom is the guy that Sean wants to groom for this. And even if Drew retires right now, it's going to put us in a tough spot with Teddy because I don't know how much of a long-term deal we want to give him because we're trying to shift this toward Taysom.
Well, the Taysom deal is a one-year deal too. $16.4 million guaranteed this year, and then they could renegotiate that next year if he's a quarterback. And Jameis is a one-year deal, so they are all setting up as if this is Drew Brees' last year. Thanks for breaking that news on our show, Tiggs. What do you got?
Besides quarterbacks, the biggest name out there still is Clowney. Have you heard anything on Clowney and potentially where he's going to end up?
Clowney, Donner.
Clowney. So Clowney, well, geez, he's not getting number 90 back in Seattle. I saw that.
What happened?
What's his name? Jaron Reed?
It was Jaron Reed, right? Didn't Jaron Reed give up number 90 for Clowney last year, but he's getting it back, and he's already said, I'm keeping it. No one else is going to get it.
So Clowney's out of town.
Seattle was never, they looked at him and they said, look, man, you want $20 million. We're out of that race.
But that money was dropping quick and nobody else was giving it. And then the conversation was they might take him back, but then they signed Bruce Irvin and somebody else. And they're like, no, he's gone. Where does Jadeveon Clowney end up at? Because he's not injured, right? He was not injured last year. He's just a free agent right now, just hanging out.
He's just one of those guys who hasn't hit the ceiling and everybody keeps wondering why he hasn't hit the ceiling and then says, well, that's how it works in the NFL. You pay the guy, then he hits the ceiling, right? That's how that's actually not how it works at all in the NFL. You don't pay the guys who are unable to hit the ceiling because they're Albert Hainsworth and will never hit the ceiling. I think there's a little bit of worry about what will Jadeveon do once he gets to payday. I can tell you this. The Jets have been talked about with him. I talked to the Jets and they're like, hey, man, who are we paying? Like, go look on our roster. Are we paying anybody? We're not paying $20 million a year. We're not in it for that at all. If he reduces significantly, we're talking like maybe 15 a year, then maybe that's something worth talking about. The Tennessee Titans, same boat, Seattle Seahawks. Now, I will say this. The Cleveland Browns came up, at one point in this, and the Cleveland Browns took a long, hard look at him. The Cleveland Browns have a lot of cap flexibility moving forward. I wouldn't rule out the Cleveland Browns long.
Charles, I hate that you just froze up there. He's just breaking news right now.
Yeah.
So the Jets basically said they would take, in his eyes, his sources, this guy's been NFL senior reporter for 16 years for Yahoo. He said the Jets, if he dropped down to $15 million a year, they'd be interested. The Browns were interested. Titans, the same thing. So Jadeveon Clowney has suitors out there. I think it's all a numbers game for him. He breaks that Drew Brees is going to be his last year, basically. Hey, this guy is a wealth of knowledge. Yeah. Is any of it accurate? None of us know, but that has been this has been an intriguing conversation. Charles, hey, I want to let you know, it's no worries, it's technology. You have said a lot. I feel like I follow the NFL rather closely because we have to, because I feel like I have to know of just about everything. What you've said on this conversation has enlightened me on a lot of things. The Jets, the Browns, and the Titans are potentially interested in Jadeveon Clowney. Drew Brees, this is going to be his last season. It's Taysom Hill's gig to go forward. Anything else that I should know about as a sports talk show host in the middle of a quarantine?
I mean, there's probably some teams out there that need like a kicker or a punter. I mean, like, I see all these videos. Like, come on, when are you going to actually push your chip? It's like Goodwill Hunting. When are you going to put your chips back on the table, man?
I don't know. I got to see if I can handle it. I'm having a lot of fun and getting paid very well to do what I'm currently doing. But there has been some situations that have popped up that, boy, getting a pinky ring Super Bowl ring would be pretty cool. But we're going to see or not if the body can handle it. Last thing here. Whenever you see Clay Matthews file a grievance for $2 million after tweeting at the Los Angeles Rams, what does that make you think of? Is there any excuse that he hasn't gotten his money? Can you say that because the quarantine has happened and these people have been out of the facility, maybe it fell through the cracks, that's why he hasn't gotten his money? But why haven't that paid that man his money? Why has that not happened yet?
Well, I mean, we can have some fun. I mean, are the Rams broke, like, at this point, building this stadium? Like, is Dave Kroenke running out of, like, Walmart money that they don't have any more money? Look, I will say this about the Rams that's interesting to me. They didn't.
Did you just say that the Rams? Hold on, Charles. Did you just say that the Rams are broke?
I'm not saying they're broke, but I will say this. They saved money not sending their scouts to the combine, right? They saved money not sending their scouts to all-star games in preparation for the draft. They seem to be trying to reduce costs as much as possible. I think every NFL franchise is doing that now in the age of coronavirus, but they were doing it well before this was ever a problem. Plus, they have remember, SoFi Stadium, that was like a $1.7 billion stadium that became a $2.7 billion stadium that became a $6 billion stadium. That's now going to be a $7 billion stadium. And meanwhile, the Los Angeles Chargers aren't helping with any of it. Like, Dean Spanos is like, I got a $1 lease. Like, I'm fine. I don't have to kick anything in. This is great. I think I think the Rams are pinching some pennies, but there is one other thing in play with Clay Matthews. I will say this. I think the Rams were upset with the production of Clay last season relative to when he came back from injury last year. I think they felt like they looked at the film and they were pretty upset with what they saw and felt like some of their struggles and some of the games that they lost, some guys didn't show up. And I think Clay was in that. And I would think that there is an element sometimes of spite where you just don't pay somebody as quickly as you can. You kind of force them to come back, come after. He's going to get his money. There's no doubt about that. But I think the Rams might be a little bit of spite involved.
That's hilarious. First of all, Kroenke owns the Nuggets too, right? He owns the Denver Nuggets, Avalanche. He owns
Rockies.
$1.7 billion stadium becomes a $6-7 billion stadium in the middle of Los Angeles. What if Kroenke's going? What if he starts selling the Nuggets? What if the Nuggets are up for sale soon? What if Kroenke's going all in on this Rams team? And they were unloading contracts, by the way. They were unloading contracts. But the CBA says they have to pay a certain amount. They're just waiting for ticket money to come in and stuff like that. Very intriguing. Now, obviously, the Nuggets and the Avalanche and the Rams all run as their own individual businesses underneath the Kroenke umbrella, so one doesn't affect the other. But, boy, it seems as if the Rams are potentially in the same spot that Davis was in whenever he was in Oakland just a couple years ago, whenever the Khalil Mack deal was about to happen, and instead he pays John Gruden $100 million. Pep Hamilton, Chargers QB coach. Do you like that move of Anthony Lynn and Tom Telesco bringing in Pep Hamilton, who had some success there being the DC Defenders general manager and head coach this past year?
Yeah, I like Pep. He's had a long history. I mean, things in Michigan I think didn't go as well with him as maybe he thought they would, but long NFL career there. I think they feel really good about Justin Herbert. That's interestingly, Justin Herbert was far and away the number one quarterback on their board, far and away the number one prospect on their board. If Tua had been there, they were going to take Justin Herbert. I think they were praying that the Miami Dolphins did not take Justin Herbert in front of them. So to them, I think they feel like they got exactly what they needed in this draft. I wouldn't be surprised if Justin Herbert, we're looking at all these rookie quarterbacks and we're going, who's going to have the biggest impact? I know it's a 50-50 proposition on him. Some teams like him, some teams hate him. Look at the skill positions, though, man. He's got better skill position players than anybody out there, and the Chargers are going to want to roll with him as soon as they feel like he can handle starting snaps.
Tom Telesco said if Herbert went 5 to Miami, they would have taken Tua. They were okay with all 3 of the top draft prospects. So as soon as it got to Miami at 5, I think Tom Telesco was like, okay, now we just sit back and wait to see who it is. But he seemed genuinely excited about Herbert being his quarterback, and I think you're 100% accurate. Pep Hamilton, whenever he came to the Indianapolis Colts, because we had Luck and we had Fleener and we had Whalen, we had a lot of Stanford guys. He was criticized by some of the vets like, hey, man, we're not all Stanford guys, okay? Like, you need to slow it down. Like, the things he was implementing, all the long-worded things and stuff like that. And I think he became a better coach to that entire thing. He had just come from Stanford at that point. But I think him and Herbert will be able to relate on a very high level because Pep is one of the most intelligent dudes I've ever been around as well.
Yeah, I don't think there's any problem in that quarterback room with having Pep in there at all. I don't. I think, if anything, I think Pep will be refreshed. Like, you get coaches like that, particularly when they have to kind of dial it down when they get into certain rooms and guys are like, you're going too fast for us, or the verbiage is too crazy, or it's this or it's that. I think sometimes they can become a little professionally frustrated. So I think they get back into these situations where they're throwing everything, particularly at like a young quarterback. And if it's all getting absorbed and they see it on the practice field, all of a sudden they're feeling like they found, a new life in the NFL.
Yeah, because Herbert, biology nerd. He's like a super nerd as well as being 6'6" and an athlete. Hey, Charles, I appreciate you so much for joining us. I just learned a lot. I mean, I'm excited to see the ripple effects of everything you said on here, but I appreciate you so much.
Yeah, brother, I appreciate it. Thanks for having me. And by the way, just so people know, when we had the first Yahoo Sports NFL podcast, Pat McAfee was our first guest. And I think Pat McAfee may have single-handedly kept Yahoo up and running since that day.
I feel pretty good about that. By the way, thanks for having me on. It was an honor. Now, you have that Detroit Pistons hat, which makes me think a lot of things about you, but I won't go into it. But you and a redheaded guy. Who's the redheaded guy on there? There's a redhead. Are you the redheaded guy?
That is me. I'm the redheaded guy.
There it is. Okay. Redheaded guy asked a lot of great questions. I'm happy it was you. But now, for Yahoo's sake, I wish there was numerous ones. But I remember the redheaded guy. It was a great conversation with the redheaded guy. I didn't know. I'm happy.
That was me.
You're a great guy.
I was the redheaded guy, and I just want everybody to know I'm wearing the Pistons hat because, you know what? Michael Jordan can just get bent, man. Like, seriously.
Oh, wow.
Listen, I'm sorry.
Oh,
I'm sorry
wow.
someone didn't shake your hand.
Yeah, that's
oh, my
right.
God. What there's a criminal offense, capital offense there.
Okay. All right. Ladies and gentlemen, from Yahoo, senior NFL reporter, Charles Robinson. Thank you, Charles.
Take care, Pat.
Appreciate you, man. That was a good conversation. Okay, so let's digest a little bit here. Davion Clowney potentially going to the Jets or the Titans, but it'll be around the $15 million range, which is that's a lot of money, man.
Been worried about the Browns. Been worried about the Browns option for a few months now.
Myles Garrett and Davion Clowney on that D-line. Good luck. Andrew Berry can do that. That guy has been a stud. What you say, Connor?
The Clowney number is at like 16.5 now, so it has dropped significantly.
You see the Titans and the Browns are like, all right, whenever this number gets down to 15, that's where we'll be at. They're just watching the stock kind of fall a little bit, and then as soon as it hits, hammer time. He might end up getting more, by the way, because if it gets at 15 and 2 teams are in there and they start bidding, it could go up. But it's nice to know that some people are interested in Jadeveon Clowney. He wasn't injured last year. He's just a free agent who doesn't currently have a home. Him talking about not wanting to upset Ben Roethlisberger, smart football there. Everything he said in there was pretty interesting, and he's talking about how Aaron Rodgers is going to be gone, basically. What you say, Diggs?
The Browns lead the NFL in cap space right now with almost $40 million. And then
they have Jarvis Landry, Odell Beckham Jr., Baker Mayfield, Jack Conklin there, Myles Garrett, a whole defense. Nick Chubb. Andrew Berry has some
just
real.
paid Austin Hooper.
For a while,
$40 million or whatever.
Yeah.
For a while they didn't draft well, so they didn't have to pay second contracts to a lot of their players.
People.
True.
Good for Andrew Berry. Are the Browns going to win the AFC North?
Whoa.
Ben Roethlisberger coming off of Tommy on Joe Burrow. Maybe he doesn't figure it out immediately with Zach Taylor, who had little to no success last year. Lamar Jackson, is that offense going to be able to continue to roll? He's a freak athlete, obviously, but are the Cleveland Browns without Freddie Kitchen in an Ivy League front office and head coach, are they going to take over the world? History says no. Well, maybe they will. And if they do, I'm pumped up for the dog pound. We got to get to a radio break 42 minutes after the hour. We will answer some phone calls during the break at youtube.com/The Pat McAfee Show. This is Thursday, April 30th. You're the greatest. Hello. Welcome back to the Pat McAfee Show. What's up, Diggs?
It's hilarious. Jerry just made CD Lamb wear number 88 when CD wanted to wear 10.
Yeah. Listen, you might want to wear 10, and that's cute and all, but here for the fucking Cowboys, if you're a stud wide receiver, you put 2 8s on that chest. Quite an honor there. I like, by the way, that's their thing, like anointing somebody 88. Somebody did that this year. I think Temple, if you get in single digits, it's like anointing as the toughest person on a team. Temple tough. I don't mind that at all. I'm kind of a fan of that move. It's a lot of pressure, obviously. There's some big-time names. Let's go to James over there in St. Louis. M-I. Crooked letter, O-U-R-I, and no one said it better. Hey, James, what's up?
Not much, Pat. What's going on?
Just hanging out, talking in a microphone. We debuted a new song today. I don't know if you heard it. Everybody's saying it's a banger, so that's what I'm doing.
Mm-hmm. They're not wrong.
Respect. What do you want to talk about?
So my question is, right now the big story is obviously the Packers and Jordan Love, and everybody's saying how Aaron Rodgers has got to be, pissed off or disappointed about all this. My question is, what's everybody else on the team thinking? What are the guys in the locker room? Are they going to side with Rodgers if he decides to, kind of say something about this, or are they going to side with, what's his name, Gutentag or whatever? And, how's that all going to play out?
I would assume that the locker room will side with Aaron Rodgers because they all very much understand that they were one game away from the Super Bowl last year. And they all know, because in the NFL, I've said this before, in high school football, the coaches have every single right to be the bosses, and they know better. They know more football than the players do. In college even, we're the gatekeepers. We're not going to give you scholarships and stuff like that. We know football better than you. But when you get in the NFL, especially with a guy like Aaron Rodgers, who's 36 years old, who's been at the top of the game for 16 years now, been top of the NFL. I guess 13 years been at the top of the NFL. You got players in the NFL locker room who know football just as well as the coaches and know football just as well as the front office. Now, granted, I'm not saying the rookies do, but once you've been around the business and you've seen success and you've seen a championship and you know what works and what doesn't work, and you look around the NFL and you're like, well, we could fucking do that and we're not doing that. There is more discourse in the NFL. It's more of we're in this together as opposed to the coaches demanding in the boss. Now, granted, the Patriots have done the Patriot way for 20 years and it's been very successful, but not a lot of places are like that because they're not the Patriots. Now, I would assume that a lot of the locker room, they want to get a paycheck. They want to have their job, so they're not going to outright speak against Gunther because anybody can get it in that guy's eyes, including LaFleur at some point, by the way. LaFleur sees what Gunther just did to Aaron Rodgers. Wait till your fucking ass does something, and he's going to have you out of there as well. If this is a guy who is in need of getting the credit for success, Matt LaFleur, if you start getting any success, your ass will be out of there too. Let's not get too crazy. But I think a lot of the players in the locker room respect Aaron. I believe the stories that you hear of people not respecting Aaron only are outliers. A lot of Aaron Jones came on the show, who also got drafted, his potential replacement. He talked about how key Aaron Rodgers was in his growth and development, how good of a veteran he was. You hear the offensive linemen speak about him. You hear former defensive players that played on the team, Clay Matthews, A.J. Hawk, speak about him. Everybody seems to like Aaron inside the locker room, except for a couple people who have spun the narrative that he isn't. I would assume everybody would be pissed off with the choices because their team didn't get immediately better. They got better in 4 years from now or 3 years from now, where a lot of the guys on the team aren't going to be in the fucking league then. So it's like they feel the same exact way as Aaron, I'd assume, but they all want their paychecks, so they're going to show up and go to work. We got about 30 seconds before we're back on radio. Do I run and take a piss? I think I do. I think I do. It's a 1, not a 2, so I could do and take a piss for you. Now it's down to 30 seconds. I got loafers on because I got to get a big blister on the back of my ankle. Are those going to hold me back? Possibly. We've come too far. I can't piss now. We got 15 seconds now. I have to wait it out. That's what I get. At My Sports Update, a great follow on Twitter, says more on this number 88 thing with C.D. Lamb, who wanted to wear 10, but Jerry told him to wear number 88. Cowboys owner Jerry Jones said a close friend of his, former Arkansas teammate Jerry Lamb, passed away in December. He wore number 88 in college. Jerry says that he wants C.D. Lamb to wear number 88 with the Cowboys in his honor. Not a bad story there. Not a bad spin zone.
Stinks for CD.
Why?
I mean, he wants to wear number 10. Imagine getting drafted to a team, be like, okay, I'd like to be number 10. And Jerry says, nah, we'll give you 88.
I don't think CD cares. He's in the NFL. He's on the Cowboys. Wait till he's on primetime television every single weekend. And that story that he just told is that thing's being spun every single weekend. CD is going to have to learn a lot about Jerry Lamb. He says he's going to be answering a lot of questions. But I like to move. 88's a good number for wide receiver, too. I mean, that's a fire number for a wide receiver. Des Bryant's still working out, too, by the way.
Oh, yeah.
I don't know if he's going to end up on a team. Maybe wait till training camp. If there is a training camp, maybe wait for somebody to go down, come in, make some plays. How you doing? Throw up the X. I'm the X Factor. See you later. That'd be good.
Pats could use him.
Yeah. Well, they could have used them last year, too.
Yeah, that is true.
So do the Packers.
Yeah, Packers could have used them last year, too.
Yeah.
Yeah. Ted Ginn also on the market still, by the way. Friend of the show.
Yeah.
Guy that I would like to be teammates with at some point. Ted Ginn. Let's get to Jordan down there in Melbourne, Australia.
Oh, nice.
Australia, good day, mate.
G'day, mate. How are ya?
Much better now that you called in there, hey?
Hey, that's right.
Hey, fair dinkum, pal.
Yeah, fair dinkum.
Yeah, fair dinkum for sure.
How we going?
Not too shabby. Did you just sprint to the phone here? Or what's been going on? Are you all right down there?
Yeah, not too bad, man. Everything's starting to clear up. May 10 is the D-Day for everything clearing up, and hopefully our sport, AFL, returning.
Yeah! I can't wait to watch the AFL get back into things. May 10th, you're saying Coxzilla, Mason Cox, the American Wonder Down Under, is the AFL superstar. Can't wait to watch him. What do you want to talk about, though, brother?
I just want to get your thoughts on the Packers hypothetically picking up Clay Matthews and Ted Ginn. Some help on the defense and experienced weapons for Rodgers.
Hey, Jordan, I appreciate you, bud. Do you guys eat Vegemite down there?
Yeah, but you can't lather on like half those YouTubers. You gotta only a little bit.
All right, I don't think I fully understood what you said there.
Watch out for
Can't put
sharks.
heaps on. You just have to have a little bit.
Just a little bit.
Okay, how about Foster's? Australian for beer.
Mate, I've never had it myself. We have Vic Bitter down here, VB.
How do we speak the same language?
Vic Bitter?
Vic Bitter, Victoria Bitter.
Oh, I appreciate you, Jordan. We're getting down to Australia, by the way, when this quarantine opens up. I cannot wait to go down there. I guess there's an AFL. It's the cricket place it's a cricket thing. Stadium, yeah, where they play on. And it's like 110,000. It's like their Super Bowl. I guess it is just outrageous down there.
The grand final.
We're going to drop ourselves in the middle of that grand final somehow. Maybe get on a team.
Have a bowleroo.
Have a bowleroo, yeah.
Play the spaghetti bowleroo.
Yeah, maybe watch
out
out
for
for
sharks.
sharks.
Swim with a couple shacks, maybe.
And by the way, if you go off the sidewalk down there,
you better watch out. You might get roughed up. You might get your throat slit in Melbourne.
What city was that?
Memphis.
Yeah. Yep.
If you haven't followed along for a long time, this fall we were on 6 planes a week for 4 months. I was in New York on Monday for Get Up, Thursday Night Football, whatever town that was in, and then wherever game day was on Saturdays. We were in Memphis like 5, maybe 15 times this past fall. And Ty ran into one of the most electric characters ever at the bar, opened up a conversation with him, and he was a wealth of knowledge about the city of Memphis.
Yeah, he had drank like 15 beers already probably, and we were asking him just like, because, it was kind of underwhelming when we got there. It's like, all right, we've pretty much seen everything there is to see here. What is there to do? And he's like, well, you could go down to, I don't remember what street it was, but, so, you could go down there, but, 4 guys looking like you, watch each other's backs because you will get roughed up. You might get your throat slashed. Just happened the other night.
Straight face, too.
Yeah.
He was not trying to be funny.
No, not at all.
No, he was deadpan telling you, like, hey, you 4 Caucasians, basically, you will get your asses kicked if you go
And
down
then he
there.
started talking about the garlic knots.
Gotta try the garlic knots, especially when they're piping hot.
And they were terrible, right?
They were very bad.
So
like
bad.
eating bricks.
Our show's the dumbest. Our show is the absolute dumbest. The dumbest show of all time.
He was the other than that.
Other than that, perfectly fine.
Other than that, it's a great city.
That guy really painted the image of the city, I think, in your guys' eyes. Because every homeless person that we would see, you guys would point out, look how disgusting that guy is. I'm like, no, you're just listening from the Australian guy. And it was like, well, then the one guy was wearing his hospital outfit.
His gown, yep.
We eat lunch in the park in the middle of the city. It was a race to see if there could be more bums or flies around the table.
Oh, yeah.
Who won?
There was
the bums.
There was one bum who was very persistent about getting our leftovers.
That guy would not. By the way, and we gave it to him.
We did. Yeah. We did.
Persistency wins. That's why if you have anything for the show, whether it's a song, a graphic, anything like that, email them to stufffortheshow at Pat McAfee Show. And the 4 in there is the number 4. Big thanks to Mark Madden. Big thanks to Charles Robinson for breaking like 45 pieces of news on the show. He's at Yahoo, so nobody ever gets to hear him whenever he's doing it. I'm very thankful he came over here to do so. And thanks to everybody that watched and listened to this show. You have a lot of options to watch and listen to things. I very much understand that. The fact that you let us penetrate your ears, I am forever grateful for. This has been the Pat McAfee Show, Thursday, April 30th, live from Indianapolis, Indiana! McAfee and Hawk is at 1. Appreciate you, Don.